In fact, I like it when you have a little bit of body fat on you and I can pat your belly. You know, really? She goes, yeah, when you're all like abbed out, it's just kind of weird. And I was like, why didn't we have this conversation 14 years ago?
One of the most difficult things I think people can face in a relationship, if maybe one person is maybe more health conscious than the other, or one person is embarking on like a journey where they're losing a bunch of weight and the other person is not. There's all kinds of crazy emotions. I've been there, my wife's been there. I think a lot of people have been there, but maybe they don't talk about it because they don't necessarily want to just display their insecurities and how they feel, right? So Dr. John Delony, and this is something you and I talked a little bit offline, but would love to hear your take on how people can combat this and get some synergy back in sort of the eating habits in the house and whatnot. After today's video, I've finally launched my truffles through Thrive Market. So Thrive Market is an online membership-based grocery store. So you can do all your grocery shopping and all that fun stuff. But I've created some cool truffles. So I've got hazelnut pecan crunch and I've got a hazelnut mocha. So these are all made with really delicious, ethically sourced ingredients. So we've got pecan butter and hazelnut butter and a bunch of other naturally sourced ingredients, including natural sweeteners that are not using any sugar at all. So we're using things like allulose, which are huge in the world of sweeteners because we're getting an effect that also modulates glucose in addition to not having a glycemic impact. So for those that are watching their blood sugar or just trying to eat a little smarter, these are perfect. So that link is down below and you get 30% off your entire grocery order through Thrive Market. And you can use that 30% towards these truffles if you wish. Now I also have my nut butters if you still want to try those as well. All those are linked down below for people that are already Thrive Market members. Otherwise, that link to become a member is in the top line of the description underneath this video.
I think there's a couple things to be cognizant of. The first thing is, you mentioned it, like you have to talk about it. You have to sit down together and say, hey, I'm embarking on this journey. I'm gonna start exercising and start getting into shape. I want to start feeling better. And allow the other person, and especially if you're married, you got kids, y'all built a life together, I would challenge you to have the courage in that relationship to say, I'm gonna feel uncomfortable if you all get all into shape and I'm not, right? And y'all need to have that hard conversation if that's how you feel. Often we don't know until your partner starts coming back and they look great, and then you're looking at yourself like, ugh. And I have to be careful of a couple of things. Number one, I got to be careful of the stories I start to crank out to make myself feel better in this new dynamic, right? Oh, she's just doing that because of, or, oh, it must be nice for her to have time to do this while I'm so busy doing, right? I got to be careful of those stories. The second thing is more subconscious. We are homeostatic creatures to our core. What does that mean? We want things the way they've always been, even if the way things have always been are going to kill us. And so when you start getting into shape and your wife is like, man, he's looking great, things are good, even if she's totally supporting you, she'll show up with a dozen donuts and be like, because you've been working so hard, and let's just order pizza and snuggle tonight. It won't be this, I'm trying to sabotage him. It's just this slow, gentle, subconscious, I just want things back the way they were. Because I know my place when where things are. I know my place when we used to be like this. I know what he's thinking, what he's going through when we used to be like this. I've heard people even say, I miss his snoring. Like I miss his breathing, right? That's how I knew he was there. And now I look over and think he's gone because he's sleeping so soundly, right? Because he's lost all this weight, or she's lost all this weight. And so I think the most important thing is recognizing, what is my body trying to do to protect me from the fact that my partner is changing the dynamic of our relationship? And that's work I got to deal with. And by the way, if you start getting into shape and start lobbing grenades at your wife, at your husband, that's on you. You're creating an unsafe environment for somebody to be intentional about trying to get healthy.
Yeah, you see a lot of couples like start at the same time. Like, okay, we're gonna go do keto, and we're gonna do this together, and we're gonna go to Costco. We're gonna get everything all prepped, and then they both start for a week, and then one person falls off, and the other thrives. And that's, I mean, even from the outside looking in, that's gotta suck, right? That's gotta feel terrible. Mm-hmm. Like, put yourself in that spot. Like, we both started together. you're hard charging and I gave up. Like, how does a couple deal with that? Like, what for the person that is continuing to thrive, how do you communicate with the person that isn't making the changes and that is now just like possibly wallowing in self-pity, or even worse, angry, right? Just like feisty about it. And you feel like, man, how do I even continue on when I'm in this environment with this person? I just feel like, whether it's unconsciously happening, like where it's just they don't realize it, but they're sabotaging me. Or my mindset and the environment. I'm reading all this stuff like it's all about my environment. My environment is terrible. How do you get around that?
I think when you sit down at the table with somebody you love, it's always best to make it about what you're experiencing, not about what they're not doing. And so even the language of, I'm crushing it and they just gave up, that's instantly going to a judgment, even if that's what happened. A more long-term beneficial conversation to have is one that's based on curiosity. Hey, like, I miss you. Like, we were doing this thing together and I miss you. And like, I thought we were in this together. What's going on? Because, man, I knew you were all in when we first started. And you might learn a whole bunch more. That's a much safer place to have a conversation about something as scary as how I look or how I feel, or yet another thing I tried and failed on, or I was on keto for 2 weeks and I didn't want to tell you that I've had like blistering rocket diarrhea and I didn't know what to say. And so I just went and had like a muffin and I felt so good all of a sudden. Or I started doing this right when my boss gave me this wild new project and I found myself just snacking and I got all like, when I start throwing grenades, hey, I've been working out every week and you just quit. You have to go to war back against me because I've just declared war on you. You have to. If I sit down at a table and say, hey, I miss you, that's about me. I wanted us to do this together and now I feel all by myself. Where'd you go? Like, will you still be willing to join me again? And it happens a lot with men and women. Guys will lose weight real quick out of the gate, right? And my wife will tell me, by the way, I just wanted you to know this sucks, right? That you're down 9 pounds. So we've agreed, hey, how about you don't just announce to the world your successes the first 3 weeks you and I start doing something together? Awesome, great. She goes, I see it. I see it all over you and I love what I see. But man, it's a slog for me. Like, cool, man, I'm gonna be your teammate in this. It's not a competition, it's not us fighting. And then I think the other side of that is, man, if we could get to a place, especially again, I'm going back to married couples, where we celebrate when our spouse is winning, or even our boyfriend, girlfriend, when we fall off and they keep doing great, what if we could celebrate them instead of saying, what about me, what about me, what about me? And maybe, again, sitting down and saying, hey, you're still on, I fell off, I feel gross, I feel like a failure, I feel like a this. How are you still moving on? That's a totally different conversation than, oh, it must be nice you keep going to the gym. Well, I got to stay here with the kids and I got to keep doing this stuff and my boss keeps doing it. Man, one of those is, again, a declaration of war. One of those is an invitation.
And if you take that same situation, except perhaps one person doesn't want to go on a diet at all. They're perfectly happy with where they're at, whether it's unhealthy or not. Or let's rephrase that. They're perfectly comfortable where they're at. And the other person is like, no, I need to make a change. Like, just that wanting to make a change, how would you recommend announcing that? Because I think I can speak for guys probably. Guys watching this are gonna say like, I don't want to sit down and have a cheesy discussion about the journey I'm about to embark on. Right. I just want to effing do it.
Right.
And what is a cooler way that guys can kind of be like, yeah, I need to do this without putting them on the defensive and making them feel like, oh, like Bob wants to go get Jack so he can go to the bar and pick up the new hot chick.
Yeah.
Trade me in.
Yep.
Like, how do you have that discussion and disarm somebody?
Well, I think guys need to have the conversation with themselves. Why am I doing this? Because if I think getting a six-pack is going to make me suddenly feel better about myself, you and I both know that's not true. Like, if I suddenly can bench press X amount that all my dreams are going to come true, we both know that's not true. So ask yourself. And if it's anything other than a place of stewardship, this idea that I deserve to feel good, Like, I want to be the best husband and dad I can be. And so in order to do that, I've got to take care of my body so I can show up. And a part of that, the aesthetics are going to take care of themselves, right? If I work real hard and I'm conscious about what I'm eating when I'm eating it, that's awesome, man. And so sitting down with your spouse and saying, I want to be a good steward of my body, man. I want to feel good, and I want to be a better partner for you. And I know that if I'm sleeping better and I start eating a little bit better and I start exercising, I'm going to be able to show up better for you. That's different than, dude, I'm sick of us looking like this, bro. Like, one of those is like, what?
Yeah.
And so I think guys need to have that conversation with themselves up front. It's not cool to have it, and it's not very Instagrammable, but it's important to say, why am I doing this? Why am I getting into shape, right? You caught me, right? Like low key, like I don't have enough tight shirts, right? I like to lift and make sure I'm in shape, but also, I don't know, I'd rather be in a punk rock band than like be broed out. I don't lift weights so that like people can be like, oh my gosh, that's not why I do it.
Yeah.
I know that if I skip more than 2 days of lifting, I'm not a good, I'm just short with my kids, right? I snap. And if I go more than 2 or 3 days without lifting, I don't know what the physiology about it is. I don't know. You could probably teach me a lot about. I just start grabbing junk food, man.
Yeah.
And I think it's my body trying to prop up the energy shortage with junk, just insta trash. But man, I just know I need to do this, and that helps me be better down the road. And so my wife and I aren't in competition with each other. And there are seasons when I'm writing a book, I'm up 20 hours a day and I'm not getting the sleep because I got to shoot a show and write a book and do all these things. So in this season, I'm going to take on more calories. I'm going to lift heavy and not waste those calories. And then on the back end, it's going to come with a cut. And if she wants to be a part of that, awesome. If she doesn't, awesome. Where I think the environment is not that she's working out with me every day and we're crushing it and killing it together. It's that we're both honest and put all of our goals and intentions on the table. And so I can support her wherever she's headed, and she can support me wherever I'm headed. And we've both given each other permission to call each other out. Hey, this is like night 4 of you not sleeping. Yeah. Or we were in New York the other day doing media, and my kids have never experienced a New York piece of pizza. So we're doing that. And I ordered one to participate with my family, and I was like, I'm getting 2. And she just said, you want to? And I was like, you're right. You know what I mean? And that I've given her permission. And that's not her being like, you're going to get fat, bro. She knows 2 pieces of pizza mean John tosses and turns all night, which means John wakes up kind of grumpy, which means she's got to deal with all of us grumpy downstream, right? And I've given her that level of accountability. If she was like, if you eat that, you know what you're going to look like. I'll make 3, right? If we want to dance like that. But I think that environment thing is not both of us doing the same thing at the same time. It's both of us being honest about the intentionality that we have with our life in this season right now. All of it dumps back to that one magic word of being intentional. A
lot of the guys that I talk to, and sometimes the ladies don't always understand this, but the guys aren't trying to get a 6-pack or get jacked for other women. Mm-hmm. They're usually doing it out of sort of a confidence thing around other men.
Yes.
And I think having that open discussion with women sometimes can help, right? I've had it with my wife. My wife is she's been with me for 20 years. Mm-hmm. You know, she knows that this is just who I am and that I'm not the most pleasant person if I don't get to work out, mm-hmm. right? But she also no longer asks the questions about like, you know, why are you trying to look a certain way? Why are you trying to, well, first of all, I like it. I like the act of experimentation in different mm-hmm. things and like, you know, doing different things. But I like the idea of my wife feeling safe because I'm strong and I can take care of business. Yeah. That keeps me going into the gym, and I make her know that, you know, where it's like, hey, like I do this so that I can help you with things, and I can do things, and you feel safe when I'm around, like right, like it's rather than I'm just trying to go, you know, to Vegas and pick up a chick, right? That's not the goal. The goal is how do I. And I think it's really difficult for men especially to like articulate that because maybe they don't understand why they're trying to get in shape in the first place because they're constantly told like, okay, it's not about vanity, it's not about vanity, it's not about vanity. But it's not just about vanity. Sometimes it's about how you hold yourself after you work out. Maybe you got in shape, maybe you're 6% body fat or maybe you're 15% body fat, but how you hold yourself and how you command some thoughtful respect when you walk into a room just by your simple demeanor, and your delivery is everything.
Yeah. It was really a shapeshifter moment for me when my wife told me, hey, she told me this about making money one time, and she told me this about aesthetics one time. She said, hey, the pie piece inside the pie chart of how much I love you, that's how good you look, is full. I won the lottery. I think you're a handsome guy. And she's like, I know you fluctuate 20 pounds here and 10 pounds here, and you can cut with the best of them, all that. She goes, I think I won. And she goes, so go do what you want to do, like in terms of gym. But no, as for me, I like what I see. And that was 15 or 16 years into our marriage. And it wasn't because she was holding out. She didn't know I needed to hear that. She didn't know I was trying all these weird diets and I'm full keto, then full raw vegan and full like peptides in my neck. She didn't know that at the end of the day, I was chasing one thing. I want my wife to think I'm a good looking guy. That was it. And of course I want to walk into a room and be like, oh, that guy's handsome. That guy like clearly lifts, right? When I was doing MMA a lot, I needed to be strong, right? But for most of my married life, I was chasing her, and she didn't know it. She thought I was avoiding her by going to the gym for so long, or for going for a run and then working out later and then going to MMA practice. And so we had pictures and words. I thought, like we speak in pictures and we think in words. And so, I'm sorry, let me flip that around. We think in pictures and we speak in words. I was saying, I'm gonna be a good husband to her. And good husband for me meant have 7% body fat, work out every day, be able to fight and protect and defend, all those things. And her picture of husband was a guy that's in shape, that can take care of himself if he has to, but that's with me on the couch watching TV. And we were past each other. Yeah. And it was when she finally said, oh, you're as good as, like, in fact, I like it when you have a little bit of body fat on you and I can pat your belly, really? She goes, yeah, when you're all like abbed out, it's just kind of weird. And I was like, why didn't we have this conversation 14 years ago?
Yeah.
But then I had to look in the mirror and say, oh no, I'm doing this for me, for my ego. And that was a total shift for me. And she's real good about, if you do it for your ego, knock your lights out. Don't say it's for me. Yeah. I thought you were attractive at double your body weight, at triple your body weight. And by the way, like I said, I do. Even if you put on even a little bit more, I love you, right? And there was this sense of, whew. And then I had to go figure out why my ego was so shallow and why I needed that so bad, right?
Yeah, a lot of times with guys is that ego becomes so shallow because they have spent so many years kind of neglecting their physical health, right? And it's like this tank is just so drained. Yeah. And then it's like a slingshot, and then they just rebound the other way because they think that's going to satisfy everything. Right. And it's so much more up here than it is here, right? And like what we're after, what we're seeking, and even when couples together start a diet, right, or start something, like sometimes there's a call to action where the doctor says, hey, you guys need to get healthy, whatever. But a lot of times it's just rebounding from feeling so terrible. I've got to do something. It's like an internal call to action. Mm-hmm. And like anytime you rebound like that, it's just like rebounding with someone else after a long-term relationship. Mm-hmm. Generally, it's not going to stick.
Right. And there's something to be said for sitting down with your partner who's gained 30 pounds or 40 pounds or 100 pounds. And you have to take ownership of that. I'm worried about you. I love you. I said I do. I'll love you to the end of time. I'm worried about your health. I'm watching you not sleep at night. I'm having to go sleep in the guest room because you're snoring so loud. I'm worried about you and I love you. That's different than, my God, you got fat, right? Or the other side of it is, you got to take ownership. I'm not as attracted to you as I used to be. And it hurts to say this out loud. But I want to be honest, and I said I do, and I said I'm not holding any secrets. I'm struggling with attraction to you right now. Let's have that conversation. Because here's the thing, if somebody's gained 30 or 40 or 50 pounds, they know it. They know. And you pretending like everything's cool, they feel that gap and they feel the distance and they see you divert your eyes. They know. And so there's something powerful, however painful it's going to be, to put it on the table. It goes back to what the great Michael Easter says, like, you got to choose your heart, right? It's going to be hard being married to somebody that you're struggling to be attracted to and not say anything. That's hard, man, because both of you feel that tension and that disconnect and that lack of intimacy, and your whole relationship slowly does this. You both feel it. That's hard. It's also hard having a conversation like that. I'm worried about your health. I'm not attracted to you as I used to be. That's not lobbing grenades. That's talk. I'm talking about me. This is what I'm experiencing. Call me a jerk, call me whatever. I'll take it, but I'm being honest with you. That's hard too. So it's not like I'm going to avoid a hard conversation and just go with it. Everybody feels that tension, and your relationship will slowly dissolve and degrade. There's been times in my marriage when my wife has said, I'm worried about you, right? For various things. Thank God she had the courage to do that, right? Otherwise, I would have descended into that quiet life of desperation, man, of solitude and just Netflixing myself to death, and drowning her in my own loneliness, right? And so, and I've done the same thing for her. I'm worried about you for any number of conversations. In our marriage, there's almost always a palpable relief that somebody said it. I know. And it's that shame that builds. What's it? Brene Brown says that shame eats secrets for breakfast. Those secrets just build and build, and you feel them building, and I feel them building. We're going to put it on the table, and I'm not going to do it when we're in a fight. We're going to go out to breakfast and say, I got some things I need to tell you. And I'm going to take full ownership of what I'm going to tell you about, but we're going to change the environment. We're going to have a conversation wrapped in love, and it might end with your partner getting up and walking out, okay? But I was honest. I was a person of integrity and fidelity, and I did the best I could with the tools I got to tell you I love you and I'm worried about you. And I'm going to be honest with you about what I'm experiencing. Those are hard moments, right? Those are hard moments, and it works the other way.
And then that's really coming from here versus I'm getting jacked and you're not.
Yes.
You know, it's a big difference between I'm worried about you
One
sincerely,
judgment. Yeah.
And the other is like, hey, girl, I'm getting ripped and you're here not ripped.
Right.
Like, what's the deal?
And so if you're with, and again, this happens in everything. If your partner starts going to grad school and you're not, your partner gets a huge raise and you're not, your partner starts going to the gym and within 3 weeks, he hasn't been to the gym in a long time and suddenly he's cutting a bunch of weight and you can look good instantly if you haven't been in a while, right? And I have to take ownership of how my body is responding to that and be curious as to why. Why is my body trying to defend me against the fact that the guy I love or the woman I love is making her or his life better, which is going to make our whole house better? Why am I just slowly depressing? Why am I slowly being buried in shame? That's my work to do, not theirs. That's my work. And when I find myself wanting to liven the house up with some donuts, I got to come up with another way to liven up the house, because this is going to be something that if they're going in the room to study and write a paper, this isn't the night to turn the disco ball on and right. It's not the night. But let's have that conversation way upstream. Let's be intentional about these things.
You know, you mentioned, wanting to come back to that homeostasis, and I've deployed tactical things myself when I'm on specific diets and maybe my wife's not. And obviously, given what I do, I go through periods where I'm on, I wouldn't say restrictive things. I mean, candidly, off record, that's why fasting worked so well for me, because I felt like I could just take a period of time where I wouldn't eat, and then I could enjoy the food with my family and nothing changed, right? I could still go have pizza. It wasn't a big deal. My calorie allotment was just consolidated, but that's neither here nor there. I think one of the things that would really disrupt our family was when my wife would want to make a specific dinner, and I'd be like, no, I can't have that. And that's even down to the core of like, hey, I'm just trying to provide and create a nice meal for the family, and this is comforting for us. I found that a lot of times you don't have to completely separate, diverge from that. If my wife is making an amazing brisket or amazing chicken, I find a way to be able to still eat the primary core of that meal, and maybe I don't have the mashed potatoes with it.
Exactly.
But she still feels like she is creating something that we're all enjoying, and we're still eating together as a family, because there's something fundamental and core about that food, sitting down and gathering and eating. And when I was eating out of Tupperware and my wife was like, I have to cook for myself, she either felt discouraged because she was cooking a whole meal for herself, or she would be like, well, you're gonna eat your, tilapia and, whatever, and your avocado over there. She's like, fine, I'll just, have some chips and guac or something.
Right.
It actually sends her into a spiral, right? So it's like, I found, and I've told people before, like from a very tactical level, it's like, try to not change things as aggressively as you might think you need to.
Yeah.
Still have that rosemary chicken that she put in the oven and worked so hard over. And maybe you say, you know what, hey, I'm gonna have like some cauliflower and broccoli and not do the mashed potatoes tonight, but we're still sitting down, we're having the core meat of this meal together, no pun intended, and enjoying that.
Yeah, I think it goes way upriver. And so my wife and I are similar. Back when I was trying every diet and I had spreadsheets and I was tracking it just like a lunatic. And this is before like continuous glucose monitors and all these things. She would ask at the first of the month, what are we this month, John? And I'd be like, we're raw vegan. And she'd be like, okay. And I'd see her trying to figure out how to make that work. And so my wife's been a trooper. And so for her, I'm gonna make a great meal. Like her love language is cooking. She has a garden that's, a huge garden, and I hunt a lot. So we've got all this awesome food. She loves cooking, and she loves the kids being a part of cooking, which I think is fantastic. And so if she's making a huge mashed potato dish, she's gonna make a small thing for me too, so that I can join the table. And also, I keep in mind on my end that, man, after experimenting with all these diets, certain things work better in season. But at the end of the day, our mutual buddy Lane Norton taught me this. Calories are like having a budget, like a financial budget. How much money do you have? And if you want to spend, if you know you're going to have to take your wife out really nice or you're on a date, right? You're going to a real nice dinner tonight. You got to budget for that at the beginning of the week, right? And so my wife lets me know, hey, we're doing steak on Thursday night and I'm going all in. That's awesome, man. Then I'm going to make choices earlier in that day and maybe even the day before so that I can be fully present with my family and just get off the rails and have a great time. That's on me to make choices upriver, but that means we have to talk about it, and she's not trying to spring things on me, and she doesn't get her feelings hurt when I want a sweet potato over the mashed potatoes. And some days I just gorge on the mashed potatoes because my daughter helped make them, and I'd much rather deposit into that account than my calorie account. And that means I'm going to pay the piper tomorrow by myself when I'm on my way to work, or I'm going to the gym. That's on me, right? And so I think we get in a problem, we get in a mess when we are waiting for the other person to make my life okay.
Yeah.
And my wife can't do that for me, and I can't do that for her. What I can do is say, what do you need so that I can love you the best way possible? And in so doing, you can help me meet my needs. In so doing, I can help you meet your needs. And we're just going to continue on this loop. And by the way, my needs change, her needs change, sometimes weekly, sometimes monthly, sometimes in a season. And so that means we got to keep coming back to the table and talking about our financial budget and our eating, what we're planning on this week, what's our calendar look like, how can I love you this week, what do you got coming up, what do you got coming up this week? And man, then making dinner, she's going to make an amazing meal for our family, and she's going to trust me that I'm going to be a part of the family. And also I'm going to trust her not to be like, and we have 4 cheesecakes, right? Because she's not going to try to tank me in that way.
Yeah.
And so like right now, you and I talk, I'm in the middle of a cut, but we talked about this, my wife and I, back in July, that once September comes, I'm going to get super stressed. And when I get super stressed, I stress eat. And so I'm going to be intentional this year. Awesome. And dude, we had a blast. We cooked all summer. The garden was amazing. And it wasn't like this, I sprung this on you. And then come September, she's like, all right, how can I be a part of supporting you? That's a totally different proposition.
It's a whole different ballgame. Well, John, where can everyone find you, man?
You can go to johndelony.com or at John Delony on the call them the Snapgrams on the internet. I don't have Snap. What is it, Snapchat?
Snapchat. Yeah, you don't need it.
My wife tells me I was born in the wrong century, so there you go. On Instagram, and you can, after you watch the Thomas DeLauer show, you can watch the Dr. John Delony show on YouTube or wherever you get podcasts.
Cool. And I'll link out to your book down below as well.
Thank you, man.
Right on. Thanks, brother.
Thanks, brother.